Garten of Banban has taken the internet by storm in the past few weeks. However, there is a secret prequel that no one knows about. Before Garten of Banban was created, a game called Egghead Gumpty was published by the Euphoric Brothers. The game begins with a player being directed to go into a series of rooms by a mysterious man who tasks you with finding his daughter. These rooms aren't all the same though, as there are randomly appearing doors and different gift boxes that can show up in the various rooms. Unfortunately, these aren't the only odd things to appear in the rooms, as there are multiple monsters, including Egghead Gumpty, who try to catch you throughout the journey. Upon launch, the game already had a major problem, which was the balancing of the audio and music/sound effects. Can you turn it down? Kinda hard to hear. It was extremely difficult to follow the tutorial, and I couldn't even figure out how to open the sounds menu or if there even was one. After a few minutes though, I finally fixed the problem. Moving on from this, there are a plethora of issues that plague the game. To be honest, Egghead Gumpty is really low quality and gets boring fast. Every room looks the same with barely any differences between one another. Each environment is in a 3-dimensional rectangle with the only differences being the wall colors and the small amounts of furniture inside of them. The wooden floor textures are really pixelated, and the textures of the rooms often cut off randomly and have clear seams that make the game look rushed and unfinished. I understand that the map is randomly generated, but it's clear that the code is messy or just not well done. There are so many instances of rooms that have unfinished corners and walls that switch texture, lighting, or color before you even reach another room. There will be random toilets and other furniture in the middle of some areas that don't add to the story or make any sense being there. These problems make the overall look and aesthetic of the game feel honestly ugly and really messy. Outside of the rooms though, the game itself is lacking. The objective is straightforward, but the journey to getting all 10 keys is repetitive and gets stale. Presents in the game take a while to open. They are found in almost every room, and the player just has to constantly open them to get the keys. There are no tasks to give sections of the map uniqueness and challenge, and the game feels like a chore as you repeatedly search through presents and presents trying to find keys. Outside of this issue, the monsters are also lacking in challenge and often don't even make any sense. The tutorial explains that you can use a flashlight ability to stun Egghead Gumpty, but the developers don't tell you how long you're supposed to hold the flashlight or where Egghead Gumpty even appears. I mean, for the first 10 minutes of the game, I was constantly dying to Gumpty without having the slightest clue on where he was appearing. Oh, what the heck? After watching some videos, I discovered that he actually lifts a panel on the roof or the walls, and if you move too far and you don't notice him, you'll have zero chance of surviving. Additionally, the death screen is one of the most particular images I've ever seen. It looks like some weird Egyptian hieroglyphics, but the drawings look deformed, and I'm almost certain that image is AI generated. I mean, it really shows the lack of care or effort put into the game when the Euphoric Brothers can't even make their own death screen. The other monster in the game is this weird cat that follows you around once the player encounters it. During my playthrough of the game, I had no idea what this guy actually does outside of being an obstacle that you can't run into. What the heck? It doesn't even try and catch you, but instead, just follows you from behind. The tutorial basically gives zero information about any of the enemies, and the player is left confused and lost upon launching the game. Going back to the mechanics of the game, as the player progresses, they'll eventually run into locked doors, which require a key or a lockpick to open. Let's just say that if you don't have a key, good luck. Some text briefly flashes on the game, which says to click the lock when the screen becomes very dark. And the player is only given 1 or 2 brief tries in a matter of seconds before the lockpick is used, and the player fails at opening the door. It's unclear to see when the screen actually becomes as dark as possible, and this task is impossible to get right for the first few times, as the player has no practice and knowledge about how to solve it with a tutorial. There is a third option, which is kicking down the door, but this will alert Humpty and will waste your flashlight battery trying to stun him. The monster attacks in this game are also pretty frequent, and the player has to be opening gift boxes constantly for batteries to really get any chance of survival. However, I think one of the most annoying features of the game is the endpoint, being the purple door, and how hard it is to identify where it appears and how to even open it. I mean, after spending keys opening other locked doors, or trying to constantly get batteries for your dying flashlight, the last thing the player wants to do is search for a randomly appearing door, especially when an environment is randomly generated. Egghead Gumpty has a ton of problems that needs to be fixed, but this video isn't just to rant about the issues that the game has. In fact, there are some positive features that the game has added as well. As mentioned earlier, the tutorial gives a straightforward goal and lists some useful information. While it still lacks key components, such as the monster information, it's not all bad. The second thing is the look of Egghead Gumpty. I mean, in all his appearances, he seems pretty scary and fits well with the horror theme of the game.
Got him!
And the different colors of the environment add to the game when they aren't buggy. Overall, Egghead Gumpty appears to be a struggling indie game, with a lot of issues, ranging from small, like the textures clipping, to major problems that take away from the goal of the game. Some of these problems have been fixed in their successor game that the Euphoric Brothers have made, called Garten of Banban, but it seems like they still have a long way to go. Egghead Gumpty seemed to be the first of their games to blow up in popularity, and really pave the way for their future games, including the second chapter of Banban, which is releasing soon. Anyways, the environments, monsters, and key features need some reworking to really raise the game to the next level, and it feels like more effort needs to be put into this project. I believe that the Euphoric Brothers can take some of the game's existing strong points, like the tutorial, and build off of them to increase the quality as well. I wasn't too pleased with Egghead Gumpty, but improvement can always be made. Maybe I'll check out Garten of Banban Chapter 2 sometime later and see if the Euphoric Brothers have improved on their weak points. I mean, who knows? There's a long way to go with this studio, and I'm excited to see its future.